Jeff, what'd you see yesterday?
Well, the Niners offense didn't fare any better than the Broncos had over the course of camp. And I think the takeaway is I spoke to a few people with the 49ers after practice, just kind of mingling around. And the first impression they had about this Broncos team was the defense isn't just good, has the potential to be really, really good, and that it can match up sort of any way you want to match up. And I think it really showed when the ones were on the ones yesterday, that till very late in the practice when Purdy finally made a couple plays in the last two periods of practice, the Broncos defense really dominated the Niners offense, and both teams are missing guys. Ayuk wasn't in for the Niners and Trent Williams wasn't in for the Niners, but, Dre Greenlaw and Alex Singleton didn't practice, and Brandon Jones didn't practice for the Broncos. So all in all, I think my big takeaway was just the defensive performance in a not quite a game, but in a very better than a preseason game, probably, for some of those competitive periods.
Jeff, was there anything that you felt differently about this Broncos team after watching them go up against someone else than you did before?
I guess I still have status quo on the offense. Are they going to find an explosive play or two, or at least a chunk play, instead of having to go the long way every drive on offense, which they're capable of, but that's just a hard way to live. And Bo Nix was, on the run an awful lot yesterday. And, whether that's Bosa just, crushing everything up front, which he did for a couple of periods of the practice. But I still have questions about where the run game fits in the offense, where play action fits in the offense. And, are you going to give – are those plays of 15, 20, 25 yards going to be available? Because we haven't seen many, other than a really awesome Cortland Sutton catch yesterday. We didn't really see many of those kinds of plays from the offense.
We talked about the other day, Jeff, and you were out there, and Bo had like 2 or 3 days in a row where he threw a couple picks. It seems like to me the majority of those where he's always looking for 14. Does he got to get out of the habit, or is that just a habit quarterbacks have? And do you feel he's signaling for Cortland Sutton maybe too much at the sacrifice of other guys?
Yeah, Scott, I don't know, until we get in games, I mean, at least two of the interceptions have come sort of on the same route, the same look on defense. So that may be just one of those things that he has a little bit of a blind spot still for. I do think he's been a little too right-handed in this training camp, and, whether that's how it's getting called, that's on the script or whatever they're doing. But I don't think they've done enough to move it around the field. Yesterday, not concern, but, just sort of the takeaway was he pulled the ball down and ran an awful lot. And I know he had great success with that last year, much to the surprise of defenses. But yesterday, and I know, look, it's just one practice in August. I got it. But, yesterday it looked a little bit too much of like a crutch. And I always think that's something worthy of sort of a double take, including twice in 7-on-7. To me, when a guy pulls the ball down in 7-on-7, when there isn't even a rush, to me, that's too quick to use your feet in those situations. Now, look, the coaches may grade him as having made a great decision in 7-on-7 when he did it, because I get in arguments all the time with coaches, especially about 7-on-7. But I don't always think that's a great thing when you're watching a quarterback go through practice.
Do we got any? I'm trying to think about it. Do we have any underdog Cinderella stories going on right now? Do we have an undrafted free agent that's gonna make the team and surprise people?
There's not a lot of room. There's a couple of the undrafted receivers I like, and I think the guy who's sort of been, I always say there's a Mr. August a lot of the time, and I think Bandy, the receiver,
For the last half decade, yeah.
yeah, for sort of that guy. So he's had a lot of good plays this camp. There's just no place to put him.
Right.
And I like the two undrafted rookie receivers a lot. The one I hope they keep and take a look at for a while. Joaquin Davis. I hope they keep him for a minute and just see what he could become. But there's just not a lot of room on this team. I mean, you don't have a lot of position battles going. You have sort of playing time battles, carries, how many snaps you get in the nickel, those types of battles. But there's no real traditional player one or player two type position battles.
Is it Q Robinson? Is he fit into that argument too, as far as playing time
I think they're gonna have to find a way. He's been really good this camp, and again, we haven't seen it yet, but he was one of my top 2 special teams players on the draft board, in April. So my guess is he will be a regular core player on all of those units. That's the way he's lining up right now. So
Henningsen out for the year?
It did look good. I just got off a plane, so I'm
Okay.
making the rounds, but I would have said it would be significant time when I saw it happen.
All right. Any other notes? Any other thing off the beaten path about being out there? Mike was there, Shanahan.
He was. I got a chance to talk with him a little while after practice. So
Yeah.
It was good to see him. I always say you got to love it if you're doing it now the way he is. He isn't just, casually watching things for the 49ers. He's got a workspace in the building. So,
Wow.
but,
in the Niners building?
I think they give him a place to work when he wants to, or when they want him to look at things. But
Okay.
Well, he and the GM had a good relationship, and obviously his son's the head coach, right?
I didn't know he had an office in the building, though.
I don't know that he's got a specific office. I just know when he needs to work, they find a place for him.
Okay.
So, but,
That's cool.
no, I mean, and why wouldn't you? I've always said the Broncos didn't do that enough. I mean, the guy is,
Legendary.
Obi-Wan for a lot of the offenses that people are running in the league. But I had a chance to gab with him yesterday after practice for a while, and I've met very few people, if any, who love football more than Mike Shanahan does. So
That's awesome.
But
How did Christian McCaffrey look to you? I know obviously last year was last year, and they're being easy with him, but he's a favorite son here in Denver.
yeah, Scotty, they treated him with regular reps yesterday. He lined up with the ones. He took part in the team periods. So obviously I haven't tracked their practices, but he was very much a full participant yesterday, even in the contact stuff when, they weren't tackling to the ground, but they were thumping pretty good in the run game drills. In fact, Hufanga had the hit of the day on Abdullah, but as part of the Broncos defense. But McCaffrey took part and looked like in the regular rotation, took the snaps he likely would have taken, when they think he's 100%. At least that's the way it looked to me.
All right, we appreciate it. Jeff Legwold. Thank you, Leggy. We'll talk to you next week.
You bet, Sam.